Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got an interesting show for you. The Vols have led for several of these five-star edge rushers, and we haven't been able to get one in the boat, so to speak. And we're going to talk about what's going on and what's wrong. And it's not, probably what's wrong may not be the right way to put it. Maybe it's the reality of life with NIL. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a couple of upcoming commitments, and we're also going to revisit a couple of these that we missed out on. And this story talks about a little bit. It's on Rocky Top Insider by Ryan Schumpert. And Tennessee's done pretty well so far. They've got 19 commitments. They're in the top 10. But edge rusher is something that, you've got to restack every year. And last year we had a great class for edge rushers. It started out with David Hobbs, who is basically he's basically a certified five-star. Caleb Herring, which was the #1 player in the state of Tennessee, another really good edge rusher. And Chandavian Bradley, who was out of the state of Missouri and was very highly ranked. So we've had our share of success recently in getting five-star edge rushers and high 4-stars, which is, you need a bunch because some are going to hit and some are going to miss. But this year we were in the lead for a couple of really strong edge rushers. One was Williams Winery. We were the team to beat for a while, according to Kevin Wiltfong. But he wound up going to Missouri because of the new NIL deal they've got there, that new law that allows a Missouri resident, you've got to be a Missouri resident, they can go ahead and start paying you early through NIL, through a new law that they passed a few months ago. So they can go ahead and start paying Williams. Now, that didn't mean that we would have got him had Missouri not, because also Oklahoma was in on it and several other teams. But one of the players that we were in great shape for, I thought we were going to get him, was Camarion Fountain, and he wound up going to USC on a visit, and we thought we had him. We were in the lead for him big time, and people were even talking about he had silently committed to the Vols. There was rumors of that. And then he went out to USC, and suddenly he just committed to them. So obviously they threw the bag at him, and that's the thing with this NIL money. You're not going to see – the one positive is that you're not going to see one or two or three teams just load up on all the five-stars like it was in the past, because there's enough teams out there that can go ahead and put some money out there and get one or two five-stars, and that's going to keep Alabama from getting 9 or Georgia from getting 7. But they'll still get their fair share, but they're not going to be able to completely grab them all. And one of the reasons we got Nico is been reported that he's got an $8 million deal. And that obviously played a role in getting him to Tennessee. Now, granted, it was the perfect offense for him, and I don't think we're going to have any trouble getting quarterbacks and wide receivers, but you still got to pay. But to get edge rushers, everybody is in on edge rushers. We don't have an advantage there. Georgia probably does because their defense is so well known and putting players into the NFL in Alabama, but it's not, we're not in that situation. So we have to get in the game of NIL. Well, the problem with that is if you start paying, one or two players just to get them because we just got to have this guy, the other players are going to know what he gets. Okay, an 18-year-old's not going to walk in and not brag a little bit.
There you go. Thank you, sir. There you go. There you go.
And players are going to probably put a lot of pressure on him to go, look, man, are you going to tell me what you made, or are you just going to be like that? Is that how you are? You going to be like that?
Oh, man, that is way too much pressure.
I've been on a Division I team. You don't keep a lot of secrets. You tell people what's going on in your life. And an 18-year-old kid is going to let you know if he got the bag. He just can't help it. And even if he tries, he's going to give up. He's going to spill the beans. You can just count on it. Well, if it's a lot more money than a senior's getting or a junior, it's going to breed resentment. You can get away with it as a quarterback a lot easier because, look, players understand quarterback's the #1 position. I don't think there's anybody that's going to argue with that. But when you start having a player that you think you're better than and they're getting 2 or 3 times as much money and never played it down, it can get very tricky. Ask Texas A&M. Ask Miami. They tried to buy a team a couple years ago, and then Miami tried that last year. It causes problems within the team. And if you have team dissension, look what happened to the Vols before the South Carolina game. I'm telling you, if the guys' heads aren't on straight and they're in a bad frame of mind, they're not going to play at their best. They're just not. And there's such a fine line between winning and losing in the SEC. If you're not dialed in and ready to go, and even if you are, you may not win. But if you're not, you're going to lose. It's a very difficult task to try to get these players. So on Saturday, Camary and Franklin, who we were in the lead for, suddenly Auburn's in the lead for them. And crap, now it's gone to 89%. It was 60% Vols, 30% everybody else. Now it's 89% Auburn Tigers, and we're at 2%. We were at 30% yesterday or the day before. So Auburn is already flipped 2 5-stars, and now they've come in and they're trying to grab this 5-star. So this is getting frustrating, and Auburn's a team that's desperate. They have money and they're desperate. So they don't care. When you're down in the dumps, you're just going to buy some players and just let the chips fall where they may, because at least you'll have the talent. And Hugh Freeze being brand new, he's going to have plenty of leash to be able to do what he wants to do. They're not going to keep him tied down. He's going to get to, spend the money the way he sees fit. And understand it's not him spending the money. It's obviously their collective, but they've got money down there, and they're spending it. You don't flip a player from Georgia and Alabama without the Benjamins. It's just what you're going to have to do. Because if a kid has his choice, he's going to pick Alabama or Georgia over Auburn. But if the money's right, I can see a kid saying, hey, that's a couple $100,000 more over here. I'm going over here. So that one's looking very testy at this point, and we were in the lead for him. Another player that's going to be deciding very soon is Jordan Ross, and he's going to be committing next week, I think on a Friday. And he's out of Alabama, as I recall, and he's going to be committing Monday, August 21st. He's from Birmingham, Alabama, 6'4", 230. He's a 5-star on some of the sites, a 4-star on others, but he's excellent player, and a lot of teams would love to have him. We are considered to be a slight favorite for him at this point. It's either Florida, Tennessee, Texas, or Alabama. But again, I'm sure we'll start hearing closer to that Monday whether or not we're in or out. But we'll know shortly. 21st is coming up very, very soon. Here you say Tennessee leads the way for Ross's commitment at 29%. Florida's at 12%. Alabama, Texas are at 7.9%. And Georgia was in the running, but they're not in the running anymore. I think they've gotten kind of loaded up at edge. So this is kind of a dilemma because we haven't really loaded up on edge this year in our commitments. We've done really well on offensive line, got a real fine quarterback. We've got some great wide receivers. But edge, we've got 2 3-stars and a 4-star. It would be really nice to add a really nice 5-star in there prior to the season getting kicked off and get to that 20th commitment and get solidly in that top 5 or, right in that area. And as you can see, Georgia's still in the lead. Ohio State, Florida's hanging around 3rd. Alabama's already gotten up to 4th. They'll go into 3rd here pretty soon. Florida State has picked up 3 5-stars. And that's what I'm talking about, spending that money. That's another team that, according to Matt B. Great, is already paying high school players. LSU, they're going to finish up strong, I would expect. Here comes A&M. Michigan is falling down. That was a matter of time because their average isn't high. And then we've fallen down from 7th to 9th. So picking up a 5-star would kick us right back up probably to 6 or 7, right in that neighborhood. But realize we still got at least 6 more players to commit to get to that 25 number approximately. So, we've had a great class so far. Obviously, with the jewel of the class being Mike Matthews, 5-star wide receiver. They got a great cornerback, which is a position of need for us. Of course, we've got the quarterback, Jake, who actually he got dropped his number into the hundreds, like 136 nationally from about 70th, but he hadn't played a down, so I think his number will pick back up. Braylon Staley, a top 100 wide receiver, well, close to a top 100. And then right on down the line, we've got a bunch of good players and a bunch of good offensive linemen. And Boo Carter, I'll tell you what, man, that guy right there is a player. They've got him ranked 208. Rivals has him 52nd. And if you've seen his quickness, that guy is going to be a player. Got the fastest running back in the country in Peyton Lewis. So we've got some real nice pieces for next year, too, to go on top of what we did last year. I'm real pleased with how our recruiting's going, but this is frustrating because we're getting outbid. But, my understanding is we've got a bunch of guys getting paid over there, probably between $8 and $10 million a year is about what they're spending over at Spire Sports. So, it's not like we're not spending money. It's just other teams have money too. So I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong. I think it's a matter of just getting used to the NIL world. You're going to get some of these commits that fit your team, and then you're going to get outbid sometimes. And sometimes it'll just be about the money.
Show me the money!
And I think we're just going to have to kind of deal with it, but it should create parity. And parity is good for us because we have an offensive scheme and a coaching staff that gives us an advantage. So if the best teams get pulled down with NIL because other teams are picking up 5 stars that weren't able to years ago, that should be good for us because we can also use NIL to get some too that we weren't getting. And I really think parity is great for us. And parity is bad for Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Michigan and all these teams that are used to being at the top. Parity is no good for them. They hate it. And then the 12-team playoff is especially bad for them. They've got their little club, and they keep everybody out by recruiting all their 5 stars, and then you only get 4 teams in the playoff. Well, now with 12 and parity, it's going to be up in the air every year, and I feel like we have the advantage. I just do. I mean, our offense is very hard to deal with, especially if you only see it once a year or never, hardly. So anyway, I don't think there's a particular problem. I think it's just the world that we live in now. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's be able to continue to cover the Vols, the SEC, NIL, realignment, all that stuff. If you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I'd appreciate it. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll love. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.